On today's episode of That Was Us, we're diving into Season 3, Episode 2, A Philadelphia Story. Rebecca searches for a new home while navigating the kids' looming college decisions. Kate begins her IVF journey, which sparks some family tension. Randall becomes more involved in his father's old community, and the entire Pearson family comes together for Kevin's big movie premiere. Mandy, Chris, how the hell are you guys doing today?
Well, how are
We're
you?
doing very well. Today on the podcast,
Yeah.
we're joined by a co-host of the smash hit podcast, We Don't Always Agree, Ryan Michelle Bathe and Sterling K. Brown.
Hi, guys.
Thank you for
Welcome
having
to
me.
our set, Bird.
It's very sweet.
It's
and
so
cute.
awesome. Real true story. The wife threw me a little birthday party last night.
It was a get-together.
It was a get-together.
Thank you. A casual
A
hang.
casual hang
Very
of
much.
sorts.
That happened
Thank you.
miraculously.
Yes.
And while I was watching episodes and whatnot, she was like straightening up the kitchen, doing all these wonderful things to keep our house in like pristine order. I was like, for the record, I don't want to feign it. I do love you. I love you a great deal. I think you are a quality
real quick,
human being.
Nobody was questioning that.
I'm just making sure.
Nobody is
I
saying.
want to put it on the record.
I know about it.
For posterity, I put it on record. You're the homie. I love you.
I'm glad you had a nice time last night.
She's not just here because she's my wife. She is a part of our This Is Us family. She plays Yvette, counselor to the Pearsons in the past. We meet her for the first time in episode 104 entitled The Pool.
Yes.
And they have, Rebecca and Yvette have a wonderful sort of introduction to one another, which I'm
There's
just...
a confrontation.
Yes.
We can call it like
Which
it
real
is.
quick, I'm
Very
curious,
controversial.
for you, what do you recall about your first time being on set and playing those scenes with Mandy?
I recall a lot. I'm not going to say the first thing that comes to mind when I remember.
You
Oh,
can
say
Brian,
No,
this is a safe space.
Okay.
Please, do what you got
I
to do.
remember there was that guy with the MAGA hat and the glasses.
Oh, yeah.
It was so scary.
We won't say his name, but I know exactly who you're talking
And he was
about.
really tall, and he was always carrying a lot of things. And
Yes.
it's like, I get why people have glasses because obviously it's outside and we're at the pool, and I get.
Yeah.
But it was just
Intimidating?
very intimidating,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
was like, is
Yeah.
he doing this on Like it felt purposefully intimidating, and I
Yes.
remember that a lot
gotcha.
because he would like walk past me, and I would
Yeah.
always try to like
This is
avoid
2016.
him.
I mean,
Yes,
we
it
all,
was.
we all,
Pre-election.
It's an interesting time.
we all
It
decide
was.
what we're going to wear to work.
And that was a choice.
Yeah,
That
it's a
was
choice.
That was a choice.
And
Yeah.
that I
Intentional
wouldn't have
choice,
made.
yeah.
You know, you could have made another choice. But anyway, I remember that.
You remember that.
I remember being very nervous.
Why were you nervous? You're a
Um,
seasoned professional. Talk to me about that.
What's my favorite movie being Julia? And she says, nerves are the nerves of the something that we pay. The
You had
nerves
that
are the
right.
tie that we pay our audience, dear. Because she's like really nervous.
Yeah.
And it's, you guys remember that movie
right.
being Julia
Yes.
with
Yes.
what's her name? Anyway.
With old girl?
With old girl. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
you know old girl.
Yeah.
You know who old girl is. I can't think of her name right now. Anyway, it'll come to me. But the point is that that's I think why, I'm
Okay.
always nervous.
I hear you.
Especially you go on somebody else's set, somebody else's
Yeah.
playground. You don't know how things go. You don't know how people really are. You
Sure.
don't know what to
Yeah.
expect.
Sure.
And it was such a big day because it was the pool. I mean,
Yeah.
it was you know what I
Yes.
mean? And
So
there's
many extras.
So many.
Like
It was
all the logistics of being on a location. We had, it was outside. It was hot.
Kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it was
kids.
older. It was like an older pool because it
Yeah.
had to look older. So
Yeah.
things weren't really like, you're like, is this up to code?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The answer
Definitely
is
wasn't.
no.
Drown
Yeah.
in
The answer is
pool.
Definitely
no.
wasn't.
Do
Yeah.
you know what I
No,
find
exactly.
interesting about like what I recall from that episode and conversations that we've had? Like we've been at parties with really lovely people who have adopted a white family that's adopted like black children, right? And on a couple of occasions, I want to say, but I remember being at a friend's party and us looking at the daughter's hair. And sort of like, you don't remember this? And like you were like, I wonder if I should say something about her hair to her parents.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know specifically, but I feel like that's happened a couple of times
Sure.
with us,
Sure,
where we
sure,
feel
sure.
like we, where I question certain things and should I say something?
What is your place?
Well, I'm not Yvette. So.
No, but still, I mean, like, what does Yvette just chime in unsolicited?
A little bit.
Very much so. But I think I feel like in Yvette's situation, and it's funny because I'm very much down this rabbit hole of like adoptees and like how to do an adoptee-centered adoption and like all of just the how the rhetoric is shifting around adoption based on people who have actually been adopted, and like you really get a sense of like how we talk about adoption actually from the point of view of more so the parents, either the parents who gave up a child for adoption or the people who adopted the parents. But it's not always from the child's perspective. So it's been really interesting to me. And I think that Yvette knew you. Or knew Randall.
Randall had come over and introduced himself.
A couple of times. The idea is that he had built this relationship with the children and these people.
That was why he chose to go to that particular pool.
Yes.
Because he knew his friends would be there.
Right. And so I feel like she felt, in my mind, Yvette felt empowered to speak on behalf of the child and not just this random family that she didn't know. She did have a relationship.
Yeah, there was a relationship there. I totally agree.
Gotcha.
Even if it wasn't with Rebecca.
The mother. Yeah. I agree.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about how you factor into this particular episode as we weave through it, because there's going to be a tie-in that we'll come back to. But how does this episode start, gang? Who wants to take the top of it?
I mean, it opens on the most depressed Rebecca we've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She is reeling from the death of her husband. She's making coffee. She's in an apartment now.
Yeah, sort of a nondescript apartment.
Yeah. Like transitional housing, nothing really personal about it.
Yeah.
And the kids are kind of floating around trying to figure out what's going on.
There's two things that happen almost immediately. There is an envelope from Howard University. Right? And she's like, rejection letters don't usually come in 3-pound packages, which is, can't tell you, this is non-applicable for the person who just decided to just start a career. But for everybody else who like did that whole college thing, Majigga, what was it like when you received your acceptance letter?
Yeah, I mean,
were you excited?
Yes. Yes.
Could have fooled me.
Yes. I was so excited. So excited.
You got the big envelope.
Yes.
Did you get in everywhere you applied?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
Good for you.
SKB?
I did. But but it was such a thing because I actually got my acceptance letter on April 5th.
On your birthday.
I got it on my birthday. And I remember we were talking in school. They're like, if you get rejected, they give you this like a small envelope. But if you get accepted, it's like a big thing.
Yeah, packet.
And I remember seeing like the big, I think it was Manila, and it had Stanford on it, and had like, maybe it had congratulations like going crossways on. And I was just like,
spoiler.
It was a great day. It was a great day.
Ryan
got in everywhere.
Oh,
and listen, tell Ryan, tell everybody, our audience, where you applied to school. Come on, Bert.
Come on.
Him off. You know him.
Come on.
Okay, fine. I applied to Georgetown.
Yep.
Wash U, Princeton, Stanford, Spelman, Columbia, and Harvard.
Save the best for last, girl.
That's right.
You see how she held that one?
Just to make sure you had options.
You see how she held that? Was just like, well, let me just let y'all know Harvard right there like that.
Yeah.
And was mad. And
so
for the first 2 years.
what made you choose Stanford?
There you go.
That is a really good question. So, it was a very hard decision. Like, because I didn't have a lot of like help, like in terms of like navigating the process. I had help in terms of like getting in. Like I knew what to do to get in. And then it like everything fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that it occurred to me what to do after you get in. Again, you're 17.
Yeah,
you're a kid.
who would?
Yeah, you just are like, I gotta get in, and then you're like, I guess.
And then you'll figure it out from there.
And then
It felt like basic application. Like I went to a very nice high school that had all the resources.
Sure.
It was like, here's how you apply. But I don't think anybody knew anything about theater. And I'm like, I didn't even know about NYU. I didn't even, like, it wasn't even an option. I was like, I didn't realize like the difference between a college with a theater major and a theater program.
That's
like,
interesting.
For some reason, it just wasn't in my purview at all.
Yeah.
Because they didn't speak about, I don't know. They just.
My school did.
But you went to
I was very similar to Chris's school. It
Okay,
was a
well,
college
I went
prep
to a
school.
public school, so maybe that's
Great.
why.
Maybe.
No shade. Like I loved my public
But
school.
what was the difference in terms of Stanford versus Harvard?
think
if there was
that-
a and Spelman, like which I think is going to tie into this episode quite
Sure.
clearly.
Oh yeah, that's actually. Oh, so I grew up on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And I think I understood what my trajectory would be had I gone to a Harvard. I mean, I knew Princeton was out for other reasons, but it basically came down between Spelman, Harvard, and Stanford.
Okay.
And only reason because when I went to visit Princeton, it was raining and it was depressing, and all the buildings are Gothic. And I literally was like, I'm
Okay.
gonna
I
get
can't do that.
possessed.
Yeah, this is a vampire
literally.
movie.
No, it was like, but not in a good way. You know, like gargoyles, but also not in a good way. And I was like, they were like, do you know what an eating club is? I was like, well, I be on the menu? I don't know.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
The menu.
No, thank you.
Good
No,
movie.
thank you.
Would you like to join our eating
Yes,
club?
it's like, no. And they're like, I get drunk every week. It was just
Can't
it
I
was-
just have lunch?
Anyway,
Those three.
yes, so it was those three. And I felt very clear, like, if I go to Harvard, I kind of had this very clear vision of who and what I would be,
Yeah.
but I couldn't pin down who that person would be or who I would be if I went to Stanford. And because it was such an
The
unknown,
mystery is
I was like,
appealing.
I wanted to see.
Did you
the
visit
mystery.
all of these places?
I did.
You did.
I did.
So
I
wait,
did.
in terms of this episode too, because why Stanford then over Spelman?
So, and had to do it all over again. Maybe I'd make a different choice. But when I visited Spelman, I was also in an
Because of
organization.
Sterling.
We didn't meet when we visited school. They have something called a Black Recruitment and Orientation Committee,
Brock
where they
Weekend,
bring like
yeah.
Black
Yeah.
students to school. But neither one of us went to Brock Weekend. I was doing all my sons. Senior year of high school, and so
Oh.
couldn't make it to that weekend. And you
I
had
was
to miss
just
it for something
busy.
else.
Yeah,
Okay.
I had shit
I
to
was
do.
busy. I had
Yeah.
things to do. But I was in
I was-
Jack and Jill. That's probably what I was doing.
Okay.
You were
And
busy letting Harvard know you would not be attending.
Yes, I was probably counseling with them. Like,
Yeah.
so listen, this next time this happens.
What
this
else
is
do you
how
have to offer other than acceptance?
Spelman.
Spelman. So when I went to visit, because having been in Jack and Jill and knowing all of the kids on the East Coast.
Jack and Jill is a African American mothers organization. Where their children get together. It's a mothers group, but it's for their children and sort of for their social development to sort of augment the Black experience, especially if they tend to occupy predominantly white spaces, to make sure they have a connection to culture that is also present in their lives.
Got it.
Got
Yes. And so, and it's when the older you get, the more it becomes like about your region, right? And so you can imagine back in the day, living on the East Coast, you can hop in a car and get to Boston. You can hop in a
Right.
car and get to DC. You can, you know what I mean? You're on a train. So we were just all over. We were in Philly. We were in DC. We were in, we loved to go to Brooklyn. We thought we was so, because we lived in Stamford, Connecticut. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So we're like, we're going to Brooklyn. We're going to Brooklyn. You know, and it was
Yeah.
like 40 acres and a mule. So we just thought we were so cool. And
Shout
I
out to
thought I
Spike.
was
Fort
super
Greene.
cool. And like Jersey, and like you go to the Jersey parties because they play the house music. And then like in DC, they played the go-go. So you just felt so like sophisticated and worldly. That was the extent of sophisticated and worldly.
Yeah.
For me, was
Understood,
go-go music.
understood.
And so, but when I went to Spelman, having had that experience, I saw so many people that I knew. And it didn't, and it felt good, but it also, again, felt very familiar.
You wanted something different. You
I
wanted
did,
something
yeah.
sort of uncharted.
I did.
For
I got
college,
you.
that sounds understandable.
I got you.
I wanted to go somewhere without expectations of who I had been,
Yeah.
informing who I could be.
And something sunny.
And that
I
helped.
didn't. Sunny's not bad.
Yeah.
That helped.
Beautiful weather.
I'm
Yeah,
telling
great
you,
weather.
like one of my main things from St. Louis is like I wanted either Black people or sunshine. So I applied to 2 schools in DC. I applied to
With Black
Howard
people?
and Georgetown,
Yeah.
and I applied to USC, Claremont McKenna, and Stanford University. I was like, I'm going either way. I'm gonna get these Black people, or I'm gonna get some sunshine.
And you
And I
got
wound up
sunshine
getting
and
both.
black people.
And I got both.
Yay!
Wait. Quick question for you, because I know like you've been doing this for such a long time. Was there ever any thought in your mind as to like pursuing formal education concurrently with career? Or you're like, no, this is what I do.
Question.
I guess I thought about it more after the fact. Like once
Okay.
my friends started graduating,
Yeah.
it kind of dawned on me like, oh, I guess like that experience has passed me by.
Okay.
And did I really miss out on something? Which I do often think, like, my trajectory was just something inherently different.
Yes, absolutely. And a
But-
different education.
And a different education.
Yeah.
But it sounds fun.
was
Hearing
fun.
you guys speak about it, I'm like,
think you
oh,
did
wow.
just fine,
Yeah,
Mandy.
you made the right choice.
I think 4 years of being able to just figure out who you are,
Sure.
make mistakes without the world watching, without having the sort of adult responsibilities.
Yeah.
That to me sounds really alluring.
Did you feel older than what you were?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
There was no way around that. You're
yeah.
thrust in an adult world with all of those responsibilities. Like,
Yeah.
I was always still allowed to be a kid, too.
Sure.
I could go to the mall. I could go to the Beverly Center and go to CPK with my friends and, like, see a movie or something. But it was still, I was then, you put on the work hat.
I got you.
Something different.
But never learned to read, right?
But I never learned to read.
Right?
Yep.
It's overrated.
She
It's
has
so
to do
overrated.
scripts, like
Yeah.
voice memos.
People read them to
People
her.
read them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You guys, this is how rumors get started, okay?
Just
Like,
have
for
my
real.
Randall headphone in.
There are
Flip it.
people who literally have to
Okay.
fight rumors that they can't read.
We'll be right back with more That Was Us. Guys, remember how summers used to feel endless when we were kids? Long days, outdoor adventures, getting your hands dirty, building forts, or exploring the backyard?
Now, KiwiCo is bringing that magic to a new generation with their brand new Summer Adventure Series. It's 6 weeks of awesome, hands-on projects that make science and art fun and screen-free.
Whether your kid is into outer space, dinosaurs, or engineering, KiwiCo has a crate for them, from toddlers all the way up to teens. We already have gotten a couple of their kits. Bear is super into outer space, so we got this astronaut beginner set where he got to design and kind of paint his own universe, all the planets.
Okay.
It's like a mobile, and they go around each other, and he has this little space shuttle that he can launch into the air.
I
It's
love
Awesome.
that.
That's awesome. KiwiCo kits are super creative, like building your own archery set to turn your backyard into a mini adventure zone. And it's not just fun, it's actually challenging in the best way. KiwiCo takes the guesswork out of keeping kids learning and engaged all summer.
You know what else we got? Right now we're in the midst of our spring breaks. Thank goodness I got our KiwiCo boxes right before spring break.
Nice.
Gave us
Perfect.
some brand new things to do. The other thing we got was one of those fort building sets.
Okay.
Cute.
Comes with these rods and connectors so you can build structures so that you can, instead of trying to get all your clothespins hooked to things around the room, you can build a structure and then throw a blanket over it. Instant little
I
fort.
love it.
I love that too. Build the best summer ever with KiwiCo. Get $15 off your summer adventure series at kiwico.com/TWU. That's $15 off your summer adventure at KIWICO.com/TWU.
If you have an online presence at all, and let's be real, guys, who doesn't? Your personal data is out there. Delete Me makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone vulnerable.
These brokers can list things like your name, your home address, phone number, sometimes even your social security number.
Listen, folks, well, I am what people would refer to as medium famous. Okay, and that makes me medium vulnerable online, just as vulnerable as the next person. My medium fame does not make me any less vulnerable. When Delete Me came on as a sponsor, I was so fascinated. I signed up immediately. They ran all my information, and I was very excited to find out that none of my personal information was on the 2,600 websites that they scanned. But I'm going to keep going back and make sure that all my information is safe and protected using Delete Me.
That's awesome. There's so much we can't control online, but this feels like something I could do. The idea that anyone with a credit card can buy your info is honestly scary, but Delete Me is a real solution.
Listen, I love the internet. I love it. All right. But I also don't want the internet knowing where I live. Okay, internet, get off my back. Delete Me helped me set some boundaries with the internet.
Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me, now at a special discount for our listeners. Today, get 20% off your Delete Me plan by texting TWU to 64000. The only way to get 20% off is to text TWU to 64000. That's TWU to 64000. Message and data rates may apply.
Before we get in trouble with our producing team, let's see if I can
talk about this episode.
turn this into this thing. Because so he gets accepted to Howard. We know that he visited Howard and that he had a great experience.
Yeah.
And I think for a character like Randall, who this felt unfamiliar to him, but familiar. Right?
Yes.
It was not a part of his life, but he very much wanted it to be a part of his
Seeking
life.
that.
So my man had a big smile on his face when he got that acceptance letter.
And this whole episode is about, or for this storyline, is about the future of these kids.
Yes.
Their trajectories.
Yes.
Who's going where. And
How
Kate,
and why.
and all these things and expectations. And of course, Kevin kind of gets left out. And it's another example of him just being here. I guess I'll just be here.
Yeah.
Until we get to the end of this storyline and we realize that people are changing their trajectories.
They are indeed, because so Randall gets his acceptance letter, then he's hugging his mom. Mom is in tears and she's crying, right? And Randall kind of clocks it that like she's having an interesting emotional response to this. Like, are you happy?
Yeah.
And she's like, of course I am, darling.
They're happy
but,
tears,
But happy tears. Kate comes in. She's like, you two get a room because everybody thinks that me and Mama love each other inappropriately. And it's not true. I just want to be clear. We just love each other.
It's just
period.
such a... that was always a
Kids,
funny thing for me. I'm like,
get on my
what? They
nerves.
love each other. Like,
But there is a bit of like a hard boundary that's being kept that's like an odd support. Like there's maybe a little bit of too much of an emotional scaffold put on Randall.
Yeah.
Where it's
Possibly.
like, Randall, we're getting ready to go meet with the realtor. Like this is kind of the beginning of Randall's assuming the what we find later in this episode, that Randall sees himself as the support system for the entire family.
Yes.
Sure.
yeah.
And if he doesn't do it, everything will fall apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how he...
There's some codependence right there.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. That's a good point, Chris. Because then, Kate, I clocked it immediately, and I was wondering like how you guys felt about it. We see Kate come in, get a room, whatever, go straight to the Pop-Tarts, pops a Pop-Tart in, and I hats off to hair and makeup because you can see that they've started to like put a little bit of weight on her.
Yep.
Right.
I noticed that.
And you see Randall clock it, and you see like him waiting for Mom to clock it,
And she doesn't.
and she like doesn't. She's like, we're out of these, by the way. Hashtag Pop-Tarts, brown sugar and cinnamon used to be my Mickey
Strawberry
Ficky jam.
frosted.
That was your joint?
Strawberry frosted.
And let me say this. I don't know if we'll ever have them as a sponsor, and you guys can always edit this. It's about the worst thing you can put in your body on the planet.
I think about this all the time. I'm like, my parents let me have a Pop-Tart or a toaster strudel. Do you remember those?
I
do.
definitely remember
That is
toast
with
strudels.
like sugar
Because you
on
got
top.
a packet. To
Yeah,
make it
With
for- yeah.
my Reese's peanut butter puff cereal.
It was
Oh,
like,
they had a cereal?
that's what we
Buddy.
ate.
Yeah.
Boy, did they.
Oh yeah, they did.
Paired
Hang
it
on.
with my Carnation instant breakfast.
Oh my God.
You're gonna love it in an instant. Shout out Carnation. Listen. I remember when they just came in a 6-pack. It was 3 packages of 2. I would finish it in a day.
Yeah, get out of here.
Pop-Tarts?
Then they would make an 8-pack.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sterling.
I'd finish it in a day.
Yeah.
Then they made a
Somebody
12
at
pack.
Pop-Tarts was like, people are going through these 6-packs too quick.
Guys, they made
Well, it's
guys,
Something's happening in St. Louis.
they made a 12-pack.
And you went through it in a day?
I'd kill it in a day.
We were burning calories, though.
We were
Listen,
burning calories, but like
But less the calories, there is zero nutritional content. That's what I think
There's
about. I'm
energy.
like, we
there's
are-
energy until there's not.
But how
right.
did we
That's
go
when
to
you sleep.
school and learn anything when that was how we were fueling our bodies?
Yeah. I used to
was
take a
wild.
full-size ice chest to school with food in it.
Did you?
Full size. Those igloos with the plop top, full size. 5-6 sandwiches.
Listen.
I'd start eating period 1 and just eat all day long.
Not only Pop-Tarts, I would come home from exercising, like have a great day of exercise, run 6-7 miles.
Yeah.
and make a pitcher of Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
I was
To
like,
hydrate yourself
let
in?
me top this shit
It's
off
called electrolytes.
with a bucket of sugar and colored water.
Yeah.
And we'll just be happy as, okay.
Don't
that's it.
tell me Gatorade's not just sugar water, too.
Gatorade is Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
I'm convinced. I'm
100%.
convinced.
It's a deep down body thirst. Anyway.
Anyways,
Yeah,
was-
it is.
this
Anyway.
episode brought to you by multi-billion dollar.
Nobody is going to sign up. It's like, these guys shit on everything. We're just trying to bring a little health to the world.
Anyways,
That's all.
childhood. The the point is the 1900s were fucking awesome.
Yeah, you missed it.
It was cool though,
So
wasn't
listen-
it?
Was.
It
So
was
in that
cool.
in that storyline, they go to look at a house, right? That's the next
Yes.
thing that happens. And we hear Jack's voice as Rebecca's like walking through the house, and she's sort of having a silent conversation.
Not
with
so silent.
Jack.
She's kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
like
She's
talking-
speaking
she's
out
talking
loud
to herself.
She's talking to herself, and again,
Or talking to him out loud.
Randall is sort of clocking it, right? And then they have this conversation about, well, we got to get a house and do something because, well, we know Randall's going to be gone, and then
Kate's gonna go to Berkeley, perhaps.
Kate's going to go to Berkeley, and you don't say anything about Kevin. Kev's like, and my ass is going to
I'll
be
just
sitting
be right
here doing not a damn thing,
Yeah.
right? And then nobody says that, but he's sort of feeling bad and
And
understandably
he's a
sad.
little off.
He is a little off.
Yeah.
No, he's more than a little off because he's inebriated,
Yeah.
right?
He's
and
drunk.
and we'll make
Still in the
reference to
cast,
that.
right?
No,
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 the cast
is
came off.
The cast is off. The cast is off. We see Rebecca have a couple more conversations with herself, looking at the garden and everything, and then she mentioned something about growing something.
When have you eaten pesto?
Yeah, when have you eaten
Yeah.
pesto, right? And this whole time, like Randall's like, what's going on with you, right? So eventually they have a conversation, and if I missed anything in this, you guys let me know.
Kate basically admits that she never sent the tape into
That's
Berkeley.
right. She never sent the tape to Berkeley.
Yeah.
Right? Because Randall's like, oh, you're gonna be gone too. And the second says she's like, I don't know. I never even sent it
Yeah,
in.
she's staying home with
Right?
with Kevin.
And it's like, oh, like brother is like, what's going? Like he feels sad.
Yeah.
Like you can see him feeling sad because it's like, I'm about to go do this great thing, and it seems like everybody else is kind of just an arrested development,
Yeah.
right? Like they stopped moving. So eventually, there's a confrontation out in the garden where he says to you, like, where are you right now, right? Like you said that you were going to take care of this family and everything was going to move forward, but you're not. Like things are falling apart right now, and you said that they weren't going to fall apart, and I'm a little frustrated. Kate is eating, right? Kev is drunk all the time, and you're not even like paying attention to any of this stuff.
You don't
And
notice
she
it.
just sort of takes it on the chin,
Yeah.
you know? Then they have a conversation a little bit later, and he apologizes. He says, like, I'm sorry for that. And she's like, bruh, you're right. And let me tell you something. Some days, it's just a struggle to get out of this motherfucking bed.
There was an admission in that scene that I had forgotten about was that Jack had taken her
To look at a house a couple of months before the house
burned down.
Right.
Which was just a little turn of the Dan Fogelman screw. Like just a little insult to injury.
Yeah.
That they could have been in a whole new house anyways.
Yeah. And she says, even when you see the flashback, she says, like, I love our house. Like, it may not be perfect or whatever, but it's ours.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And again, that's the turn of the screw, just being like, and they lost it.
Yeah.
You know? So then, is there anything else in that conversation between Randall and Rebecca that I need to make note of?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because then quickly we see at the end of the episod
Randall's on the
phone.
phone. He's calling up the admissions office or whatever at Howard University. He says, thank you so much for the acceptance. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to stay closer to home. So thanks for that, right? And what I wanted to sort of talk about, especially because you're here, and Yvette is one of the first people that
Randall
calls,
calls.
and she shares her enthusiasm and talks about making fried okra, which is a cultural thing, but personally, I do not like fried okra. I find it's kind of slimy even when you fry it. Do you enjoy fried okra?
No.
It's one of my mom's favorite things. When we used to
Really?
go to churches, the churches
I
made fried
remember.
okra.
We were both from
and that was
St.
always
Louis,
one of the things
yeah.
that she wanted to get. You guys familiar with okra?
Oh,
Churches,
churches.
I've
I'm
had-
from Florida.
You
I've
enjoy?
had fried okra. I don't mind it.
I've enjoyed it once.
Okay.
In deep middle of nowhere, Texas, this woman made fried okra salad.
Ooh.
Okay.
which was little pieces of fried okra,
Yeah.
bacon pieces,
Oh, now you.
Yeah.
raw white onion,
Oh, interesting.
diced up. I know. White vinegar
Okay.
and honey.
Oh, so a little sweetness to go with.
And again, I
Crunchy.
watched her make it, and I was like, I don't know. And then sure enough, I ate half the bowl. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
Bacon
fried
will
okra,
class up
hard
anything.
to pull off.
Okay. It is hard to pull off.
It can get slimy.
But he shares that with you, and then does he come over to the house while you guys are? Does Randall come to the house? No, he doesn't.
Everything is on the phone.
You just see
But there
him
was
on
going to
the
be a
phone.
party. There was going to be.
There's going to be a party.
We were just talking about This Is Us and their ability at excellent phone calls.
Yeah.
We do great phone calls.
Excellent phone
We got the
call.
best phone calls on TV.
We do great phone calls. But I'm curious, like, because one of the things, and it'll tie into the present day storyline for Randall as well. And maybe I should talk about it after I talk about the. No,
That's pretty much
mention-
all the flashback.
That's all the flashbacks. I'll come back to it in a second because there's something specific I want you to weigh into. Let's go to present day Randall.
Sure.
And first week of school or so, he's excited to take the girls out for froyo. He's typical over the top Randall, just goofy and silly.
Yeah, over the top Randall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
Not Sterling.
Typical over the top Randall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. You want to chime in?
No.
Wait. So okay, this is a good one. Because people will ask me this question, and I think that I have blinders to a certain extent. How much of Randall is Sterling in your opinion?
Oh, yeah.
We've
I
come
want
to this
answer.
episode.
Let's go. Give it to me.
Wow.
Percentage.
Because I'll accept your perspective because you see me all the time.
But you never watched the show. That's the hard part.
So you have no reference.
So it was it this was with the name is it this is who it, anyway
Who is it?
Let's see.
Yes, you are. I would say you're about. I think it's 77%.
Oh.
77% Randall?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like what part of me is not him, would you say?
Fun-loving.
The nice part. No. I'm laughing because don't take this the wrong way.
I won't take it the wrong way.
But
I'm
the
good.
part of Randall that like locks in to things that are like that he doesn't necessarily want to do, but he does for the greater good
Yeah.
of the people around him.
Yeah. That's not Brown.
No.
Very admirable.
No.
Ladies and
And I will
gentlemen,
admit
welcome
that.
to We Don't Always Agree.
Yeah.
We're talking with...
But I
the kids
actually
were babies,
do
he'd be like,
agree.
Nah, diaper doesn't need to be changed. He's fine. You know? And I know he loves me, and he loves. And you,
Whoa.
okay, you know when that diaper can wait a teensy bit,
Yeah.
or you can change it now
Yeah.
just for the
Like prematurely
Yeah.
change it. Yeah.
He's not going to prematurely
One-
change a
I'm
diaper.
getting the
just
full
for-
value
Yeah,
out
See?
the diaper.
One poop, there's room for another.
I'm getting
Well,
full.
not poop.
Not full poop.
No,
one
come
poop.
on, come on.
Come on, that's a bridge
Doo-doo.
too far.
But you can get a lot of pee in it.
Yeah. It can be a little heavier, heftier.
See,
Yeah.
you would
Thank you,
wait.
Mandy.
I get that. I get
That
that.
child,
Like
that
like,
child
you know.
needs to be walking different.
Waddling.
I need to see a droop.
Or you know when it gets real smooth because
Yeah,
it's so
it's
heavy.
so distended.
It's like a nice
Yeah.
full smooth
Yeah.
diaper.
I
That's
like
what he would
value.
wait till-
There's a lot of
I like
landfills out there,
value.
Jack.
I
Try to
Yeah,
get
like
the
Sterling
value.
is looking
That's
for a
hilarious.
16-inch softball.
And yet, when I tried to do the what do you call it, the cloth
You did the
diapers,
cloth diaper.
you were like, nah, he was not in.
She did the-
That's
He would
admirable.
Not. He
How
would
long
not
did you do
it.
that?
We did it with the
3
first
days.
child for a bit. She tried to hire like a diaper service or whatnot. And I was just like, man, this is just raw
We
doo-doo. I don't
never-
know what to do with it.
We never
I don't know how to
got
get
we never
rid
got
of
the
it.
hang of it. We never got the knack for it. It's not.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
you have. Okay,
You have the genie. Wait, but the genie's for diapers. There's something else.
But some of those cloth ones ended up in the. It was a mess. I don't even
It
want
was
to talk.
tough. It's
You
hard.
have. I think there's a level of you have to have like double sink. You just have to have a lot of things.
Yeah,
where
you have to have
can,
a
Can't
sink
be
where
washing
you
your
can wash
diapers
doo-doo.
and
Yeah,
your
you have to have a
dishes
doo-doo
in the
sink.
same
Yeah, you
sink.
need a
doo-doo
doo-doo
sink.
sink.
You
Yeah.
have to have a doo-doo sink.
Yeah.
That's a faux
And
pas.
that's just we didn't
Which-
have a doo-doo sink.
Doo-doo
That's
sink.
high living.
So
if you
one
got
time
a
I was
doo-doo sink.
outside because we had like a hose
Sure.
right out. Oh,
Sure.
I was like,
That's what those
That is so
garage sinks
admirable.
are for. That's right.
77%.
Anyway,
I don't
so
even.
77%.
That may be fairly accurate.
The energy is very similar.
Yeah, the goofiness.
Yes. Yeah.
That tracks.
I have a lot of goof. I have
It's
a lot of
very
goof.
effortless.
I'm
With
not gonna argue that. So anyway, he's being over the top, Randall.
Slash Sterling.
Froyo!
Yeah.
Froyo or ice cream? Froyo or ice cream?
I'm lactose intolerant, so I'll have to go with the froyo. But
Sure.
ice cream, come on. It's
Ice cream or gelato?
Gelato.
There's in Australia, we just got back from Australia not too long. There's like gelaterias everywhere. I ate a lot.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
And I feel like even just sometimes outside of the country, like the ingredients are a little bit pure and it doesn't
Yeah.
mess with your tummy the same way.
In the Midwest, they got frozen custard.
They do.
Yeah, now
Yeah.
that.
There's a Ted Drew's.
Come
Ted
on.
Drew's.
Yeah,
Jarlings? You have Jarlings?
I don't have Jarlings.
That's in Illinois.
I think so. Okay.
All right.
But it's good.
Or you know what? The soft serve from McDonald's used to be
Yeah,
like
used to be.
the best thing ever.
What
like
happened?
I loved.
They switched to a different mix. You guys,
Chris
you think
is
I don't
so
follow this?
disappointed.
You think I don't follow this? In and out. I'm also
pissed.
looking at you. You used to have real ice cream shakes. Now you got some powdered mix.
No
Get out of here.
more advertisers. Look, so they
This is not advertising. I'm coming for you.
So the
his
girls
two daughters, his
both
two
have
have
other
something
like
else to do. Somebody's got to
after-school
do
activities.
a Taylor Swift thing. Somebody's got to do something else. But Deja's free, right? And he's trying to get a little
old Deja.
figure out what's going on with her. Like every time I ask you what's going on with school, you say it's just fine. And she's like, honestly, Randall, it's a lot of white people, bro. And he's like, there's white people at this school? And she's like,
Well delivered. It was good.
She misses her drill team. And so Randall goes back. He and Beth are hanging out. Beth has got some sort of proposal that she's got to do for her job. And it's still at this point in time, we don't know what Beth do.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I got this proposal that I got to
City
finish
planning,
with this. Yeah, we're like,
something.
Beth,
I don't
what
know.
do you do, girl? But she's,
She's
trying
a
to figure it
CIA
out.
agent. Yeah.
Exactly.
If only.
Undercover.
She's like on the Americans,
Yeah.
like living with Randall.
Yeah.
But so Randall says like I'm gonna go visit the property. And there's this rec center, and I know this woman who's got a young lady that I think Deja would get along with. So I'm gonna make that happen, right? So he goes to the rec center. We meet this woman, Chi-Chi.
Which is a tie-in. We didn't talk about it in the flashback, but this is an old friend of Williams.
This is an old friend of Williams because I think we meet Chi-Chi first. Do we meet Chi-Chi first, or
when
do
she
we
has the
meet
baby.
Yeah. And then the flashback to William. Shout out to our man, Ron Cephas Jones,
I love
who we
seeing
love and
his
adore.
sweet face.
Seeing him, and we see this Nigerian woman coming off a bus with her baby. And he's like, "Can I help you out?" And she's like, "I got it. Don't worry about it." She drops something. And she's very independent. Like, no, just leave me alone. Right?
He looked really good in these episodes.
Can I say that? I was
you
I
can.
was thinking
was
the
this
same
post
thing.
his procedures?
Yes.
Yeah.
There was health.
There was help.
Vitality back in his eyes. Yeah.
And it was
so
sort
good
of cool to
see.
see, like, because he's 5 years sober in that timeline or whatnot. It's like, oh,
Yeah, he got
William looks
healthier.
good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we meet Chi-Chi in the present, and Randall introduces Deja to this girl who is also one of the young ladies who auditioned for Deja.
Ah,
Right?
That's right.
It was
I remember you
very,
talking
very,
about
very
that, yeah.
cool. Very sweet young girl. And she goes with the drill team, and you can tell Deja feels at home, right? She feels comfortable. Randall sits next to Chi-Chi, and he's like, why is there a mattress up next to the thing? And she's
of
like,
the hole in the wall.
Cover the hole in the wall. Why is there a hole in the wall?
Because of the busted pipe.
Why is there a busted pipe? Randall, I don't know why you're asking all these questions.
Right.
He's like, well, maybe I should go talk to somebody about it. She's like, if you want to, you can. Like, and he's like, well, maybe I will. She's like, okay. He's like, maybe I'll do it right now. She's like, okay. And he's like, I'm gonna get up and go do it. Right? He goes to visit the councilman, finds Councilman
And
Brown.
this is where Sterling and Randall diverge.
Very, very much
Okay,
so.
good.
He would never ask about a mattress on a wall.
Okay, I'm just checking.
And if you did, you'd be like, oh, that makes sense.
I don't know how this
Anyway,
whole
moving
guest
on.
co-host thing is working out. The bus is here, and I'm like, yeah.
This is the first time we meet Councilman Brown, yes?
This is the first time we meet Councilman Brown, who's played by, is it Rob, what's Rob's last name? Somebody tell me his last name. Rob Morgan. Great actor.
Oh, I
Great.
did 2 other TV shows with.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because he's also in The Nick.
Is he? Okay.
And he's also in Stranger Things.
Oh my
wow.
goodness
Yeah.
gracious.
All
That's
right,
great.
Rob.
Rob works. He's all over the
All
place,
over.
right? So great actor, great dude, had a great time. And you see him and Randall sort of make this connection in the barbershop. He's very sort of polite and polished, and he's like, yeah, I know that place. Like, I had to almost agree to get it shut down or whatnot. But now I'm gonna see what I can do. I'm gonna send a maintenance crew out there later today. Because Randall's just saying, like, there's kids in the here and the place is just falling apart. And I wish they just had something better. Yeah. Right? He's like, I'll send a maintenance crew tonight. He's like, I'm gonna hold you to that. I'm gonna be there. And he's like, all right, now you do. And the next thing you see is Randall hanging out late night because the sun has gone down. No maintenance crew, right? He mentions that there's like street lights that are out, et cetera, holes in it. So Randall says, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna get the ladder. He goes outside. He puts in a light bulb. Again, this is not like Sterling. I'll say it before you even get to say it about me, okay?
Where did he even get a municipal light bulb?
Yeah.
I thought the same thing.
I was like, wow, that's a proper street light.
Yeah.
Like, you just go to Home Depot for
Proper
that?
street light. Randall don't play.
It was a 60 watt.
Randall don't play. Sterling, on the other hand, it will just be in darkness for a long, long time. I was like, there's other lights. Y'all can see.
Yeah.
That's how I'll justify it like
The
that.
light of the Lord.
Amen.
That is actually what he was
Amen. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Y'all acting like you need electricity. I can see perfectly fine. Orion, there's 3 dots right there.
Look in your heart.
Boom, boom, boom.
Look in your heart.
He puts it up, and then he comes back, and he's talking to Chi-Chi, and he's like, yo, I'm going to stay on him. I put the light up, like, I'm going to do something. And Chi-Chi's like, Randall, like, you know, I knew your father. Let's go to the flashback of that again, too, because William was making some food. He hears a baby crying across the hall, and he brings food over to the hall and said, like, you know, I thought you guys might be hungry. And she's a little overwhelmed or whatnot, just a single mom taking care of things. She says that they moved to this country fairly recently. Her husband passed away before they moved. So she wound up coming as a single mother unintentionally. Right. And William's like, can I give you something to eat? You know? And she takes a bite of it. He's like, I didn't say it was good. You know what I'm saying? But it is nourishment. So just take it for what it is. And she offers to let him hold the baby. Yeah. And there's a couple of things that I want to take special note of, because when COVID came, it was something that, like, I'm sure it's probably a little bit different for you, Mandy, because you had lots of babies all the time. But seeing a real baby on screen does something. Yeah. Versus when you have the doll, you know what I'm saying? And you have to cover its head and make sure it's right. But like when the real baby is there, the frame, the DP is always like, hey, make sure you keep that baby.
That's an expensive baby.
That's an expensive baby. And so folks know, just in case, there's always 2 babies on set. In case one baby wows out all of a sudden.
Yeah, is having a bad day.
Is not having a good day. He's like, all right, we got to switch this baby out. Bring in the other baby. But that baby was so sweet. Oh. And just looking up. And like she gave him to William. And she said, you're a natural, but not. And you just see the magic happen of like, oh, here's a man who had to give up something. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You just read that on his face. Like, what could have been?
And I will say this, without even that history, I think one of the most generous things that can happen to a man is when a woman offers to let you hold her baby. Mm-hmm. Because you know that's her baby. Yeah. You don't just give your baby to anybody. Yeah. When somebody gives, especially a dude, because they'll pass off to women relatively quickly. It's not even happening
a lot anymore.
It's not.
It used to happen more.
I think COVID sort of shifted things a little bit in terms of germ conscious and everything. But like when somebody gives you their baby, and it means there's a level of trust that's there. And it's just like, this is the most precious thing in the world. Yeah. And both Brown and Chris love the babies. Because I can remember being on set before he was a father. And I was watching this dude hold a baby,
like,
and I rolled up on him. I was like, "You ready for one of these, ain't you?" And he's like,
"I remember that day.
I'm thinking about it."
And then I was like, Sterling, how do you get one?
Where can I get one?
How do you do this? How do you make one of these?
Yeah.
And Sterling was like, "I'll send you a video.
We'll talk through it." So I reference all of that to say that Chi-Chi winds up saying to Randall, like, you know, it was different with I see so much of you in your father. Yeah. Right? And your
father and you.
Yeah, your father and you. And he was one of us and was willing and wanting to do these things. But you get here and all you see is problems. And you don't even sort of like take the time to get to know the people, et cetera. So you're not one of us, dude. Yeah.
We are not our problems. I remember her saying that.
Yeah, we're not our problems. Yeah. And it's really interesting because, and I tie this back to Randall not making the decision to go to Howard, and how most of his life is really defined by not only just being an adoptee and like what I have to do in order to be loved and accepted, wanted, et cetera, but his blackness, right? And is he doing enough for his community? Is he doing too much for his community? And he winds up saying that when he gets to the premiere of the movie, you know, and he's just like, you know, it's always like not enough or too much, and I'm always just trying to figure out what the right calibration of that is, you know, and it makes me wonder. At the gathering last night, we have friends who went to Morehouse, we have friends who go to Howard, we have friends who've gone to Spelman, whatever, and we're talking about these conversations about where to send our children eventually and options to think about, right? And I'm curious as to like, I think he would have fundamentally been a different person if he'd gone to Howard.
Oh, yeah.
And because there would have been this immersion in community where you'll figure out after the course of 4 years of like where exactly you fit in, right? And not left like for another lifetime of wondering of like, how do folks see me? How do I see myself? In terms of my relationship to my community and everything.
Because that's a question he carries with him throughout his entire life.
Throughout his entire life.
Understandably.
Yeah.
But I think so much is predicated on that decision and him making the choice to like forego school there and stay at home with his mom.
Yeah.
I mean, it is something that, we just like continue to explore as the show goes on.
Totally. So that's the conclusion of that one, right?
Yes.
Of that, because we end it at the premiere of that. Did you want to say anything about that? I'm curious for you, right? Because you are such a beautiful lover of your culture, of your heritage, etc. Do you ever wonder if you had chosen Spelman, what differences would have been?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm in a very different situation than Randall.
Like, you were raised.
I mean,
by
obviously things would have been different. Sure, you know, I would have met different people. I would have had different friends. I would have had a different, you know, there would have just been a completely different.
A more helpful husband.
Maybe.
You did this.
But then he wouldn't have been as fun. He probably would have been very helpful,
this was
but very
Sam's
boring.
suggestion. Maybe we should have Ryan on the show to be a co-host.
He would have been, yes. But no, I think...
oh my God!
I love you.
I love you guys. I started off the whole thing saying I love Ryan too. Go ahead. It's on record.
It was early. It was just too early.
Yeah, we're just getting started now.
Yeah.
We're veering to the left. I don't, you know, I think what
Stanford
Randall would have been able to experience is a diaspora of Black people.
Sure.
And I think he would have understood how he probably wouldn't have been the only transracial adoptee at Howard, for sure.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have been the only person to have grown up. You know, I'm sure there would have been biracial people who would have grown up solely around white. I mean, he would have seen, because I thought that was what was so interesting when I got to Stanford was how not so many, but a lot of my Black peers they thought they were the only people who have had that, whatever their experience was, they thought that was the only
because
experience.
they'd been so accustomed to be one of the few or one of the only in most of the environments that they'd been in
or even
before.
one of many. I mean, you said when you went to Stanford, you thought everybody was going to be like you. And
well, this is a funny story. Because you said that too. And what did we mean by this? Like, tell them what you tell them.
I think we meant it in sort of more economic terms.
We did, because I was like, look, I thought everybody who was Black at Stanford was going to be like, had to have financial aid, was like a hustler and sort of like achieved in that way to where Uncle Sam will help to foot the bill. And she's like, I thought everyone was going to be like me and like their dads just paid for it. And because and we talk about people from the opposite side of the tracks, man. And she's like, and I wound up meeting you.
I had a little bit more consciousness that people apply for financial aid, Sterling.
Did you?
I did. I was not
Did you apply for financial aid?
I did.
Not.
I
but
did.
Did you get it?
No,
did you get financial aid?
I got a lovely note from the financial aid office saying "Thank you for this laugh. We
that
needed
was hysterical.
it.
Your
that
daddy
was so
makes too
sweet
much
of you.
money.
You are an only child, ma'am. Go have a seat. But thanks for the laugh. Yes.
My experience was so different because I had to roll up on Arlene Brown and be like, Mama, you gotta fill out this thing. It's called a FAFSA. And she's like, what do I say? I just tell them how much money you make. She's like, I don't make no money. I was like, well, just put that right there.
Yeah.
My father filled out
that.
the FAFSA by hand and gave it to me.
Really?
And that was the first time I saw how much my father made.
And you were like, we ain't gonna get nothing.
And I was like, I don't know what you think financial aid means, but even I know that there's some aid that is involved. And sir, like,
and also, can we talk about this?
I know. I was like, I've been living hand to mouth all these years. Like, he had me snowed. Like, he had me convinced that he went and dug ditches in a suit. Like, I mean, just, anyway.
More That Was Us after this short break. All right, pet parents, let's talk about what's really going into your dog's bowl. If you've ever dealt with gut issues, picky eaters, or itchy skin, you know how hard it is to find food that actually works.
That's exactly why we made the switch to Spot & Tango's Unkibble. And honestly, it's been a total upgrade.
Let me talk to you about Marshmallow, our dog we rescued about a year ago. We found him on the street, and you would think he wouldn't be as picky of an eater as he is, but let me tell you, he is a very picky eater. We've tried all kinds of different food and different ways to sort of coax him into eating his breakfast or his dinner, but it wasn't until we switched to Spot & Tango's Unkibble that he was actually excited to dig into his food. It's so gratifying to sort of see him jump right into the bowl, enjoying his food, and not having to coax him with treats or something else to get him to eat breakfast or dinner.
Unkibble is everything regular kibble isn't. It's made with 100% whole, fresh ingredients like real USDA meats, fruits, and vegetables, so you can actually recognize what you're feeding your dog.
And it's 40% less expensive than frozen food, but still made with the same high-quality human-grade ingredients. Plus, it's shelf-stable, which makes life easier for travel and everyday feeding.
Yeah, when I open the bag, my dogs, they come sit right next to me. They sit at attention and they wait for their command to commence feasting.
It's also customized to your dog's exact needs based on their age, breed, weight, and activity level. And with the pre-measured scoop, there's no second guessing how much to serve.
We're all in on Unkibble now. It's real food, it's easy, and our dogs are thriving. Upgrade your pet's bowl with Spot & Tango Unkibble. For a limited time, go to spotandtango.com/TWU and use code TWU to get 50% off your first order. That's spotandtango.com/TWU. Code TWU to get 50% off your first order. That's huge. spotandtango.com/TWU. Code TWU.
Okay, I'm going to be honest with you guys right now. I struggle with giving gifts. Not that I don't want to give gifts. I just don't know what the right thing is. And with Mother's Day coming up, whether it's my mom or my wife, I have no idea what to do. Especially when they hit you with that classic, don't get me anything. But of course, I still want to give them something that feels special. And as we all know too well, mother figures can come in many ways.
That's where Quince comes in. Their stuff is high quality, feels super thoughtful, and it's actually affordable. Now, I don't overthink it. I just go straight to Quince.
They have cashmere sweaters starting at $50, 14-karat gold jewelry, Italian leather bags, fragrances, so many amazing options. All Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar luxury brands. No markups, no middlemen. Just really well-made pieces at prices that make sense.
They work directly with top factories using safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices. And they only use premium fabrics and finishes. That kind of transparency, we love to see it.
I bought a ton of new stuff for this rental house that we're staying in right now. I had to buy new sheets and towels and all kinds of things. And I have to tell you, Quince makes the very best I've ever had.
I have to admit, my entire life seems like it's Quince now. I've got home goods. I've got sheets, linens, towels. The other day we did a podcast and I was in a full outfit, head to toe, in Quince. A nice gold chain, a knit cap, a wonderful sweater, comfy pants. I mean, I am Quince kind of through and through now.
Whether you're shopping for your mom, a mother figure, or yourself, hello, Quince has the kind of gifts that really land.
Thoughtful, timeless, totally her. Shop Mother's Day at Quince. Go to quince.com/TWU for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/TWU to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/TWU. TWU.
Anyway, the point is that I wish that
For
Randall could have seen
course.
that he wasn't the only
I
one,
agree.
and that there were so many different ways to show up in the world as a black
Right.
man, as
Agreed.
a black person. Like,
Yeah.
especially at the time that he would have gone. Were we 90s
He's he's 4 years younger than us.
So yeah.
Did you talk? I mean, this had to be quite the crossroads for the writing staff, because either path
Yeah.
is the amount of storytelling and the possibility involved for that character. Like, was there ever any question that he would go or not?
There was
Like,
no. I think he was always not going to go, because I think a lot of what they based Randall and Beth off of is Sterling and Ryan. And like they'd heard like how Ryan and I met, at a
Interesting.
predominantly white institution of higher learning or whatnot. And so they were like,
financial aid office.
and the financial aid office, because Randall did get
The
help.
Bursar's office.
We didn't have a whole lot.
Bursar,
Of money.
yeah.
We didn't have a lot.
We didn't have a whole lot, so Randall got
Bursar?
help there. But so yeah, I think they based a lot of it off of us.
I got it.
Actually.
Okay.
Right? Like, yeah. So wait, let's table that for now, because I think one of the most interesting developments in this episode is Toby. And
Yes.
one of the
Thank you.
first
Finally,
things
someone said
I want to talk about you for a little bit. One of the first things that we see is
Yeah.
Toby's knee bouncing. Right?
Yeah.
And it's sort of reminiscent of Randall had a tremor at one point in time before he had
Yeah.
his
Like a little
breakdown.
tick.
He had a little tick, and like even your wife noticing, like, will you stop doing that with your knee or whatnot?
Yeah.
But what she doesn't know, that the audience knows, is that last week he took his medicine, threw it into
Yeah, he's
the
detoxing off
toilet,
of
right?
Yeah.
His
Yeah.
Smart move.
antidepressants.
So talk a little bit about, like, this is new territory for us and Toby. What's it like for you in the playing?
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting moment because it was going to be like the first big emotional shift for the character. But I had very limited kind of story time
Yeah, real estate to do that.
to maneuver these shifts, right? Because there were all these big stories going on.
Yeah.
And Toby is helping Kate with this process, or you know what I mean? There's a lot of evolution happening. So ironically, in season 3, I think the story, the amount of words I had to deliver this shift was getting fewer. So it was an interesting kind of shift. And we have a moment as Kate and Toby have decided to go down the IVF route, and they're going to Kevin's premiere, and they're going to be around all the friends and family, and they've decided to keep IVF a secret until they also decide, because you have to keep your medication cold.
Yep.
They're going to hide it in the pudding packages.
There you
and
go.
you have to know Miguel Rivas loves pudding. You have to know this.
Of course, Migs.
You got to know Miguel
gotta
loves
be
pudding,
Migs.
especially the caramel cream.
I was like, oh, really?
And you're like,
Pudding?
"Oh!" and then you see like the needle and the vials fall
And
down.
was that scripted or not? That I'm a heroin addict?
I think it was scripted, but you can definitely see that I was having a real hard time delivering it. Do you remember that day?
I do.
Like, I couldn't turn to everybody in the room with a straight face, go, I'm a hair. It was like I caught the giggles.
Taylor
like
wasn't even watching, and he watched that part, and he just like burst out laughing. I was like, that's silly.
because it was such like economical writing. I'm a heroin addict.
Yeah.
And you can see it on my face. Like, if you know me, like, that is the only take that was usable.
Yeah.
Because it was the only one I didn't laugh in. Because also John and I do this like
You did the slide
in,
across with each other.
and we're like getting our our supporting actor moment, and so the secret is out, and there's and now
a car ride.
the family's concern over Kate and Toby going down this IVF road becomes contentious.
You guys are in the car headed to the premiere, and Rebecca's very vocal, and very vocal because she has a friend that went through it just last year, right? You want to talk a little bit
Eloise
about
and
that?
Plaza.
Really
Look
good
at you.
writing.
Good.
Really
good writing.
really good writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I don't remember shooting this episode. Do you ever have like holes
Sure.
where
Sure.
this is one of them where
Yep.
I was watching it thinking, wow, I don't remember being on set with the heroin. Like, I don't remember any
All
of this.
4 of us could not keep a straight face. Mandy,
I'm sure.
I was hysterical. You loved it. You couldn't. You loved it. You were like, "This is the best day on set
It
ever."
was amazing.
Too bad you can't remember.
But Rebecca sometimes, flips into like super maternal mode. And,
Yes.
Yeah.
and it's like, this is a threshold we've never crossed before. But since we're here, like, I'm going to make it known
Yeah.
how I feel.
Yeah.
It's interesting too
This is
because
tricky.
Not
compared to the past when she's eating the Pop-Tarts and you sort of like clocked out or whatnot, you make a point of saying like, listen, this egg harvesting thing is not easy, and especially with someone who is your size.
Yeah.
And it's such an interesting thing because we all know it is a taboo to reference, but in terms of just health and caring about an individual, you just want that person to do everything they can to be safe and healthy. So it's not even born out of anything. There's no shame in it or anything else. It's like, I want you to be alive as long as possible.
Period.
Yeah.
That's the only place it emanates from. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Is that the first time we hear Rebecca say something that direct about Kate and her size, or is it always oblique?
I feel like, it's always sort of danced around a little bit. Maybe in like previous seasons, it's sort of been alluded to, but you're right. I think my reaction watching it was one of like, oof, just because it's
about something adjacent to the weight.
Exactly.
Right.
But it was so transparent that you're like, wow, okay, I guess it's good that she's just putting it out on the table.
Yeah. I mean, it's good, and it's also like, when is the right time to do it?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, in Rebecca's defense, it's like, I just found out this information. I have something to say about it.
Might as well do it now.
Yeah.
You know?
They're on their way to Kevin's apartment to get ready for the thing.
Getting ready for the
and we roll in mid conflict.
Lot of tension.
Kevin Pearson, get ready for this.
Yeah. And
Rebecca's on her phone, like reading.
It says
It's
right
kind of
here.
cringy.
It says right here.
Yeah.
Kate hints that Kev's not gonna have kids. Like Kate says in this conversation, once they all join Kev, is that I'm the only person that has an opportunity to continue
To pass
Dad's
on a
legacy,
piece of Dad.
to pass on a piece of Dad. And Kev's like, "What you think?" And she's like, "Come on, Kev." And he's like, and so we'll dovetail into that because Kev's sort of arc for this whole episode is like, what does it take to be taken seriously?
Yeah.
Right.
What does it take to be taken?
And Toby snaps because he's flushed all of his medication down the
Toby
toilet.
tells everybody, "Shut up!
Yes.
Shut up! Shut the hell up!"
I do remember that part. I do remember that part.
That's the
part you remember.
And I called you all asinine, which I thought, wow, Jesus. And then he calls everybody asinine, tells everyone to shut up,
Yeah.
and then goes for a walk.
Well, he says like, "It's none of your business,
Just
Rebecca.
disappears.
This is something between me and my wife. You know, we know the concerns and everything like that. So please, like, let's everybody stop talking about it." And he's like, "I know it took it too far. I'm gonna take a walk."
Anyways, got to go.
You know what I'm saying? What a delight. As an actor, it's actually one of my favorite things to blow shit up, and then I'll see you later.
Leave the scene. Leave the scene.
Clear my
I
head.
don't have to deal with the consequences of what I just caused.
Yeah.
See you later.
Yeah. I'll be in my trailer.
You do remember that.
I do remember Chris. It was, you were like, shut up. And I was like, whoa.
So shooting, do you give me a little bit about talking about the real estate before getting to step into that in that scene? What recollections do we have specific?
Yeah, I mean it's a big emotional shift in front of people who are not Kate.
Right.
So it's like there were small conversations in the past between Rebecca and Toby that were like, "Hey, I appreciate you, but
This is my wife.
I'm over here with this lady," and this is a different tone.
Yeah.
And there's clearly like, and Kate points it out, like, "Hey, that was weird."
A little edgy.
Remember when you yelled at my mom?
Yeah. Well, before we even get to that part, there's a nice little conversation between Kate and Rebecca, in which I'm trying to remember the gist of it. Toby's late for the shot,
Right.
And basically,
She needs her medication, her hormones.
she needs her hormones. She
treatment.
needs to have it at a certain time on a regular basis. And Rebecca's like, "Well, I'll do it," you know. And Kate's like, "Really?" They go into the bathroom. She pulls up, shows a little thigh, whatnot. She's like, "Just right here, whatnot." Sure. Rebecca takes it, puts it in there, and she says, "I think there's an apology." So she's like, "I just want you to be happy. Like when you become a mom, you'll see. Like all you want is what is best for your child.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. And I think we have a little bit of a flashback to you and young Kate on the couch as well. What happens in that scene?
Cookies. She tells her, she's like, I've gained
25 pounds.
Yeah.
And she says it's been a hard time for all of us.
Yeah.
And then you eat a cookie.
Yeah.
And then you eat a cookie. And it's an interesting because it's like a show of solidarity.
Yeah.
And it makes you question everything as a parent. Everything. Because you're like, here I am, I think I'm doing something good. Right? And then you look back on hindsight and you're like, did I do something good?
Yeah.
And can it be both things at the same time?
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like there's no right or wrong necessarily to it. It's just like,
It's what's
I'm doing
happening.
the best that I know in this moment
Yeah.
to be with my child.
Yep.
Right?
But there was so little shame, though. Like, I mean, so many people meet those kinds of moments shaming people. And
Yeah.
because Rebecca had so little left inside of her, but she didn't even, it's kind of sad because it's like in that moment, there's something beautiful about the fact that she can't drudge up the shaming,
Yeah.
which I feel like your relationship with your mother, no matter how devastated she could have found some shame somewhere.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you think from the perspective of like, well, are you enabling? You know, all the other conversations we've had. But then it's like at its core, to your point, Sterling, you're just meeting someone where they are.
Yeah.
And you're meeting them where they are with whatever you have left to give.
Yeah.
And so it is a little bit like, you know, wow, is that the moment?
Where I gave her permission, where I, I'm sure you could look back and see it both ways.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, we'll invite you back. When you're not talking about me, you're very insightful.
Maybe it could just be just you. You know?
What do you think?
If
I'll learn to change some light bulbs. Is that okay for you guys?
You wind up giving the shot, and it's a beautiful moment because you're like, listen, it's like in that moment, it's like, it's maybe not the safest thing. It's maybe not a choice that I would make, but I'm respecting your life and I'm going to be of service.
Yeah.
And I think both things are happening in the past and in the present.
Yeah.
In that way. You know what I'm saying? Just in a very different way.
But don't you think it's interesting that Kate says something that is both very hurtful and also true, and you say something that is also very hurtful but also very true?
Mm-hmm.
What is the thing that Kate says?
Because Kate says, I'm the only one who can pass on Dad's
I see you.
genetic material.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Piece of dad.
Which
A
is
piece
not
of dad.
technically true. Kev can too.
Yes, but you know what I mean. Where
Yes.
She's
you're
assuming
concerned.
that like he's
Right.
not gonna have kids.
Right. But she completely discounts
purpose.
you and your children
Sure.
as having anything to do
Right.
with your
Passing on a piece of data.
Right.
Biological.
And we know what she meant.
Sure.
Yes.
But we also know that she could have
Framed it in a very different way.
And she says it when he's not around.
Yeah.
And it's like, is that how you have always thought about Randall? And is that why Randall never really knows where he fits in? Because you guys pick and choose when Randall is a part and not a part. You know what I mean?
That's interesting.
And then at the same time, you say something that is also very hurtful. Rebecca says something that's very hurtful, but also very true.
Yeah.
There are statistics that show that IVF is very difficult in the best of
Case
scenarios.
Yeah.
And when someone is not at their optimal health, it just becomes, it can be very, very
More
dangerous.
of a challenge. Yeah.
Right.
So it's like you both say these very biologically true things that are also very hurtful. And I just think it's interesting that like Kate says that and is oblivious to how you would
could
perceive
be,
it.
It will
Me or
be
my
taken.
brother.
Yeah.
Me or my brother, yeah.
I mean, she's not that oblivious to, but again, it's
But I
that
think
very
she's
like, come
assuming
on,
that, like,
come
yeah,
on,
she's
Kev,
like,
come
you're not
on.
going to have kids. What you talking about?
Yeah.
Which is a perfect segue. Thank you, Ryan Michelle, for Kev's storyline, right? At the end of the last episode, we have a warning from Beth. My cousin, Zoe, will break you, right? And we see them at the beginning. He's laid in bed. Sorry. He's at the premiere, and you see Kate's having an emotional reaction to what's going on screen, and you turn over, and this was one of those moments for me, Mandy, where you see Jack is watching the premiere too. You're like,
What?
how's Jack doing this thing? And then Kev wakes up, boom, right? So it's also just one more scene that I didn't know that Milo is in with, like,
Sure.
you know,
Everybody else.
everybody else, right? and you see Kev sort of roll over. Zoe's listening. He's interpreting a French documentarian or something for her thing. And he's just trying to be amorous and lovey and sort of just connected, you know? And he tells her he wants to invite her to the premiere. And she's like, that might be a bit too much. And he's like, yeah, you know, she says, I just want to keep it light and cash. And he's like, yo, totally, I'm the most cash dude. I wear cashmere. That's my thing. And she's like, ha, 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 ha. Right? So he plays it off. He plays, ha, ha, ha. And she's like, you know, I said, I'm getting a fever. He got a little jungle fever going on. And she's trying to keep it cash. So he says, I'll take you to the airport. She's got to go to Chicago the next day. He's like, I'll take you to the airport. And she's like, no, look, I'm just trying to keep it real mellow. He's like, okay. And then we see him waiting for everybody for the premiere. Hold on, I want to make sure I get this one right. Because I think this is an interesting storyline for him that I think pays off later in the show. This idea of no one really taking him seriously.
And Dad was the only one.
That's what I'm saying, because Kate...
He responds to Kate that way.
He responds to Kate like, what do you mean I'm like, you're the only person that can pass on that, you know? And
she says, are you serious?
Yeah, she says, yeah. And then like he winds up telling this story to Randall at the premiere. Like there's a whole bunch of drama going on. Kate's thinking about doing IVF or whatnot. And Randall's like, oh, really? Really freshly off of his whole idea of like, am I enough within my community to be of anything? And Kev's telling me, he's like, and Kate said like she's the only person who can pass on a piece of dad. Like, what does she mean by that? And you see Randall just stop.
Yeah.
Just stop as Kev keeps going on. And he's telling him, he's like, you know, I guess, is he talking to Randall when he says this thing about
he's talking
Dad
to
was
Kate.
The only person?
He says to Kate, he says, he was always the hardest one on me. Mm-hmm. And I think it was because he was the one person in the world that took me seriously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is such a sad thought. Like, you know, the loss of Jack means something different to each one of us, to each one of, you know, the Pearson family.
We all had a different relationship.
Because I was Jack Pearson's boy. And now he's become the Manny, right? And he knows that people haven't been taking him serious as an actor, right? He got into this relationship with his ex-wife that he was very hopeful about, but then the idea of kids sort of freaked him out. So he's even questioning how serious he takes himself.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and will anybody else sort of see me in that way?
And this movie is a chance for him to be taken
That's
seriously.
This movie is an opportunity. Zoe is seeing him, I believe, on the red carpet, being asked questions about, like, how could you have anybody special with you here tonight? And he's like, no, just here with my family and everything else. And she sends a text saying, like, I get home from the airport, like, pick me up at this time. And so there's a reason to smile there. Like, maybe she's sort of coming around. Yeah. But then that frees on Randall. And then Randall ultimately says, she's the only person that, you know, sees herself as being able to pass on a piece of dad. And like, my heart broke a little bit because that's not what she meant. Yeah. She wasn't trying to throw shade, but that's really what he felt in it. So you got two brothers sort of questioning like, well, what am I, chopped liver? Mm-hmm. And she's sort of like, y'all ain't chopped liver, but like, I'm going through something myself.
Yeah.
You know, we all got some shit.
Yeah. Such is life.
Typical Pearson.
Yeah.
Typical Pearsons.
Should we do a fan segment?
I think we should do a fan segment. Is there anything else in terms of the end of this episode? No. I think we touched everything else. We should also thank Ryan Michelle. We'll keep her around for the fan segment.
Yes, please.
You have wonderful insight when you're not talking about me. And I appreciate it all a great deal. And actually, I love you, even though you treat me.
Stop saying actually.
Terribly.
Stop saying actually.
Yeah.
Terribly.
It's always a surprise
no
when he
one's
says
surprised.
it. Surprise to himself, all of us. Like,
no one's surprised.
Actually,
she's
I love
like,
you.
She's like, you're most of the goofy part of Randall, but the productive part, not so much.
This has been We Don't Always Agree.
You want to plug it?
no.
Okay.
I want to plug it. If you haven't listened to their podcast,
Yes.
it's called We Don't Always Agree.
Yes.
And it is an incredible look into your marriage.
It is. It was actually a lot of fun.
That's a really good. You're good at this.
It's
Strong shade.
I listened to every episode. I was fascinated by the whole thing.
Thank you, man. We appreciate it.
And it was very helpful.
And it was great. It was great to do together. And I think the biggest comment that I get is like, how are you guys able to talk about that stuff. And we were saying this to each other the other day. We're 19 years in, and there's certain conversations, probably 3-4 years in, that we couldn't talk about without feeling like you were reliving it.
Sure.
But now it's almost like we have enough, we've gotten to the other side of so many things that you can recount it and be like, you remember when? With distance and not feel like it's triggering
Sure.
something. You know what I mean?
What are you guys going to do to celebrate 20?
Oh, that's a good. I don't even think we thought of it.
Just putting it out there.
We'll figure
That's
it out.
a really
Because
We
good
should do an
question.
episode of this podcast.
We should, but for us, like 20 is the same year that we turn 50.
Oh,
So we have all of that to do, or the same year that I turned
Not
50.
you, him.
No, yeah, I just want to be clear about that.
You know what? Edit it out.
edit
Edit
it
it
out.
out. Even though they know we met freshman year of college.
They don't know
You're
how
some
old I was.
wunderkind.
She did get into every school she
Thank
wanted
you.
to.
Harvard.
You don't do
Princeton,
that without
Columbia.
being a little special.
Yeah.
Dookie Blackser, whatever your name is.
Dookie Blacks. Come on, man.
Edit that
you
out.
could have done
Edit
Come
that
on.
out.
No,
Black
that's, you
Doogie
can do better
Howser?
than that.
Boogie Hauser?
Bougie Hauser.
Bougie house. There we go.
Bougie Hauser is better. Keep the whole thing in for the Bougie Hauser.
Keep it. Keep it in.
Let's do a fan segment. We'll be right back. Gang, here we are. You know what time it is. It is time for our fan segment. This time we're going to be talking about people's decisions surrounding college.
So after watching Randall decide not to go to Howard so he could stay close to home, it got us thinking about those big decisions we make after high school.
We received a beautiful email from one of our listeners, and we're going to read that email and then give her a call after.
Let's do that. Let's hear our story.
hear
So
the
it
story.
This is
starts.
such a cute segment. I love
I'm
this
glad
guy.
you do. You should listen to the podcast. It's cool.
You would love this podcast. Like and subscribe.
It starts right here. I was struck by Chris's comment following the chat about William's visions, referencing seeing a life that never was and that it was a positive glimpse at a future that never happened. I lost my mom at 17 in May of my senior year of high school. That experience not only changed me, but the trajectory of my life. Prior to my mom getting sick, I had envisioned myself going to school at NYU, becoming either a journalist or author, and living a busy, exciting life in NYC.
Instead, my mom passed away from cancer 3 weeks before my high school graduation. Being the youngest of 5, I felt I should stay close to home and my dad. So I went to community college for business before switching to humanities and then transferring to a local college to get my BA in English. I eventually went into education as a teaching assistant for emotionally disabled children before meeting my husband and going on a years-long fertility journey to have our children. To say this was not the version of my life I thought I'd be living is an understatement.
Now, as our 15-year-old daughter starts to figure out her next moves after high school, I am brought back to my 1994 self. That young high schooler was excited to take on the city and the world, only to have the most important person in my life taken from me just as I was going to venture out of my small hometown and big Irish family. It still lives in the back of my mind, the life that could have been, the me that could have been. Some days I shake my head, knowing I am exactly who and where I am supposed to be in this life. But there are moments where I catch a glimpse of the Noreen, who just released another best-selling book and is a world traveler on assignment writing exposés, and I smile through a tear or two. My imagined self might have been more carefree, but the me I actually am has walked through many storms and feels more powerful for it and has the love and support of a man and children I never could have imagined in 1994.
As the poem goes, I chose the road less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Thanks for always talking about topics that speak to my soul. I enjoy every episode of the podcast. You guys, and this is us, means the world to me. Noreen Tosley.
Oh, Noreen, we should give her a call.
Yes.
Let's give Noreen a call.
Hello?
Are we here?
Hi, Noreen. How are you?
Very good.
Very good. I also want to let you know, besides Mandy, Chris, and myself, Sterling, my wife is joining us as a guest host, Ryan Michelle Bathe. So, Ryan, say hi to Noreen.
Hi, Noreen. Nice to meet you.
Hello there. I'm glad you finally made it onto the podcast.
Exactly, right?
Right on.
We've wanted you forever.
Your letter was exceptionally beautiful. Let me say first and foremost, condolences. I know it was a while ago, but what a difficult experience that must have been senior year of high school to lose the rock of your family.
Absolutely. Forever changed, as they say, never to be the same.
Forever changed. But the way in which you sort of highlighted is that you being exactly where you're supposed to be. Like there is, obviously a sense of loss, but like if things didn't play out the way that they did, you wouldn't be the individual that you are. And it seems that the individual that you are is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're very, very welcome.
Tell us about your books. I mean,
Yes.
this is what I was just doing a little Google. Tell us about your books that you just had your second book released.
Oh, I wish. In my mind, yes.
In your mind.
Did
It's forthcoming.
I misread something?
In her other life.
In her other life.
Yes.
I misread the letter.
I blog, but that's about that as far as I go with that. But
Well, tell us about that then.
Yeah.
I have a grief blog that I started after I lost my triplets at 22 weeks in 2010.
Oh,
And
Noreen.
yeah, your show has been like a mirror to my life in so many ways. I can't even begin to tell you. So I took writing back on because I wrote a little bit after my mom passed, but then I kind of gave up on writing for quite a while.
Yeah.
And then I got back into it with a grief blog. And then now I've also started a blog kind of talking about how I'm becoming the person I am now through all of my journeys through my life. So
Do you have, I'm curious because, I mean, in losing mom, in that miscarriage or whatnot, like, what are the coping strategies that you found most helpful for you in terms of just processing and moving and living with grief?
music plays a big part.
Music.
I've always been a person that can turn to music, no matter happy, sad, whatever's going on in my life.
Yeah.
I'm definitely a music person, and that helps cope. And I've also had a lot of people in my life that have had losses. So
Yeah.
I kind of have like a kind of a group of us that kind of bond together through grief. So that's helped.
Community.
To not feel alone.
Yeah, community is always the answer, right? Not feeling like you're an anomaly. I have a question about your connection to the show. Like, were you able to start watching the show from the jump? Because we often talk about, understandably, like the show is not for everyone at specific times. Like, it's totally understandable that it might be too much to take on, and people either can never watch it or come to it later after maybe they've processed something that's happening in their life that they maybe find it just too difficult to take on all of the emotional information that the show sort of touches upon. So was the show something that you found it to be helpful in your journey?
The grief group that I belong to online actually was talking about the trailer when it first came out.
Wow.
Really?
And they were like, we're just warning you. If it's something that you can handle, we think you should. But if it's not, that kind of a thing. And then my sister-in-law called me and she's like, you have to watch this. She's like, I know it's going to be hard, but you have to watch this trailer. And as soon as I completely broke, and I love Dr. K to this day for that speech in that episode, because that speaks to my entire life. Yeah. And I loved it from the beginning. Every episode I had a box of tissues just in case, and got through every season, every episode, and loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Oh, thanks.
So yes, it was like holding up a mirror to my life. In all the different characters and all the different experiences, I could see myself, I could see people in my family, I could see other loved ones. It was incredible. And I thank you guys. I love this podcast for revisiting it, and I love the show every episode, every minute.
We appreciate
We're so
that, Lori.
grateful that you're on this journey with us. I'm so humbled that even the show, what we were a part of, was helpful, even remotely helpful for you in the midst of your grief.
And it actually helped my husband as well. I forced him into watching it with me. He works nights. He's a police officer. So he wouldn't be here Tuesday nights. But the next day he would come home and I'd be like, can you watch it with me?
Oh.
You want to watch it? And it allowed us to speak about things and that we weren't able to say to each other prior to that. And that's incredible and life-changing, actually. So thank you again for that.
No, thank you.
Noreen, thank you for sharing your soul with us. And your letter is gorgeous. And if you haven't, I want to read your second book too.
This is
after I read the first
that was my
Let's transition
question.
from blogger to
questions.
published author.
Yes.
If people wanted to check out your blog, where would they find it?
It's on Weebly.com. It's called Life After Death is the grief one.
Okay.
And the other one is Pieces of Me.
Okay, great.
Oh, wow.
And if you were going to write a book, what would you write a book about?
My children.
Yeah.
How old are your children?
Absolutely. I have a 15-year-old. I have twin boys that are 11, and we lost several along the way. So,
Wow.
God bless
Wow.
you, Noreen.
Wow.
God,
What are their names?
yeah.
my daughter is Maggie. She's named after my mom.
Okay.
And my sons are Joseph and Christian.
Joseph,
It's
Christian,
that
and
big
Maggie.
Irish family.
I may call. Can I call Maggie Peggy when I see her sometimes, or do you just stick with Maggie? Because I like Peggy as
Nope,
the
it's
nickname.
strictly
for my-
Maggie Rose after my mom.
Okay.
Maggie Rose.
Maggie
That's
Rose.
Now
right.
that's a
I love
good
it.
name.
I love
That's right, Maggie Rose.
God bless you, Noreen. Thank you for
Thanks.
sharing with us again. We love you, and
Yeah,
thank you
we
for
I
love
listening.
appreciate it. I love you guys so
Thank
much.
you.
Right on,
Thanks,
sister.
Noreen.
Take care.
Have a good day.
You
too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
What a story. What a life.
You know,
The vulnerability just to be able to share that.
I didn't know if she had children or not after she
I know.
had talked about the
The
part.
loss.
So it made me just fill up a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's it. I just
Yeah.
Noreen.
She ended up with 3.
You ended up with
She
3.
ended
had a
up
big
with
3.
3.
Yeah.
Look at that, man. All right, listen. That's the fan segment. Like that's the kind. Guys, I just listen.
I know.
We always get filled up probably more even than the fans, but knowing that the show had that kind of impact for
it's
people
still crazy.
to be able to share so much of themselves with us.
And with each other.
Well,
That she and her
yeah.
husband, it elicited conversations
Yes.
between them. Like is so incredible
We were
to have that kind of
blessed.
impact. Yeah.
We were blessed to be a part of something like this that meant something to so many people. So I love you guys and thank you
you.
for
Wait,
doing
can
this
I ask a
podcast.
question?
What's your question?
You know, you guys, your show came at a time when it was like the shows that were so popular where the heroes weren't even hero, the anti-hero.
Yeah.
You could barely root for them. You know, it was like
Yeah.
they were so you watched to hate.
Mm-hmm.
You watched because you didn't like them and you wanted to see, you know.
Yeah.
And you guys were not only did you guys go back in time, but it's almost like you went back in time and grabbed the pieces of the shows that we used to love where you wanted to love each and every one of your characters. There wasn't, your characters were so profoundly human, but ultimately profoundly good, as opposed to what was that TV on TV at the time, which was like, no one's all good or all bad, but they're mostly bad. You know what I mean? What was that like for you guys?
Oh, that's an interesting question because where I would see me, I mean, I love the Mad Men's and the Breaking Bads and Sopranos and all these other shows very much. And I guess you are right to a certain extent because that's just not Dan. You know, I think that's not what is in his heart to put out into the world. He is a fundamentally good dude, and I think he wanted to see goodness.
Yeah.
You know?
It seems like everything we grew up with, that they did not think it was possible to make good people interesting.
Right. That it was in vogue anymore.
And there's so much drama in all of our lives.
Yeah.
Like if you write this family down on paper, it seems completely outlandish.
Right.
All of like the details on paper of this family.
Sure.
Like the addiction and the adoption and the and then you take a step back and it's like every family you've ever met.
Yeah.
Has these same stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it also like unfolded at a time where we sort of things started to feel incredibly divisive. And the fact that we were a part of something that felt ultimately like unifying felt good. Like
It did.
we were a part of something that was inherently hopeful. And I think we definitely need that now, but like we really needed it then too. And I just remember like it felt good. It felt
did.
good to put something out on the world that was universally sort of across the board, like put on a bit of a pedestal in that sense of like, oh, you can make entertainment that is for everybody, but also like is elevated. And
Yeah. I think that like
You're
that's
not talking down to the audience.
That's I think his sort of superpower, and that Fogelman specifically, in that there's something that had a wide-ranging appeal for a very broad audience, and still received sort of accolades from the industry as well. You know, it's usually sort of like either
One or the other.
or
Very
whatnot,
much
but
so.
they were able to sort of like bridge those things in a really lovely way. So thank you for saying
That's a good
that.
question.
Would you do us the honor of looking in that camera and saying that was us?
That was us.
That Was Us is filmed at Rabbit Grin Studios and produced by Rabbit Grin Productions. Music by Taylor Goldsmith and Griffin Goldsmith.
Da-da-da-dum, da-da-dum, that was us.